Okay, let's get into it. We are doing a deep dive today into something called authority content engines. Now, if you're a B2B tech founder, maybe seed stage, maybe Series A, and you feel like you're constantly fighting competitors with deeper pockets, well, this might just be the blueprint you need.
Eh,
We're looking at a framework here, a really structured one, that details how you, the founder, can take all that knowledge stuck in your head, your specific genius, and turn it into, well, predictable pipeline and market influence.
Yeah, basically scalable trust.
Exactly.
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? We want to kind of elevate this idea. It's not just marketing stuff. We're talking about the authority content engine as actual business infrastructure, like fundamental. So we'll unpack the architecture, the SEO bits you just can't skip, and how to actually put a plan in place step by step, even if you're bootstrapping.
Right. So maybe let's start with the basics. What is authority content? It's not just another blog post, is it?
Definitely not. It's content specifically created under the founder's name, their voice, their persona. And it works because it elevates credibility. It's got that combination, real-world experience, a unique point of view, and ideally, some data to back it up.
And the outcome is different too, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned infrastructure.
Absolutely critical difference. This has to deliver measurable business impact. We're talking things like, shorter sales cycles, maybe being able to command a premium price, not just likes or page views. If it doesn't eventually influence revenue, it wasn't really authority content in this sense.
Okay, and there's data on this impact. I saw some pretty compelling numbers, like 73% of decision makers trusting this kind of thought leadership way more than standard marketing fluff.
It's huge, isn't it? Think about that. The content is kind of prepaying the trust tax for you. And there was that IBM study finding companies doing this. Well, see, on average, 156% ROI just on the thought leadership investments.
Wow, 156%. So the content is doing a lot of the heavy lifting before sales even gets involved?
Precisely. Because something like 90% of decision makers are apparently more open to sales outreach if they've already seen high quality content from that company.
They're kind of pre-sold on your competence already.
Exactly. But here's the kicker, the competitive gap. Only about 29% of companies, roughly, can actually connect specific leads back to their thought leadership.
Ah.
So for those early stage founders, the seed to Series A, crowd battling giants, this kind of systematic approach, well, it's maybe the only sustainable way to build that trust at scale while you're still busy figuring out product market fit.
Okay, so the why is clear. It's infrastructure. Now, the big question for the founder listening is how? How do I build this thing without, hiring a massive marketing team right away? Which brings us to the architecture, section 2.
Right. The authority engine. Think of it as a repeatable system. It takes that founder's deep expertise, turns it into content assets, assets that build authority, capture search intent for what buyers are looking for, and then this is key generate qualified pipeline. It really has to operate like, well, production infrastructure.
And you mentioned 3 core components holding it up.
Yeah, 3 main pillars. First, systematic knowledge extraction, getting that genius out of the founder's head consistently.
Right.
Second, multi-format content production. And it has to be optimized for SEO from the start.
Right.
And third, measurement frameworks. You absolutely need to connect the dots between content performance and actual revenue outcomes.
But we're definitely moving beyond just like random acts of content. This is about having pillars based on what you really know, a consistent rhythm, the right distribution, and tracking that proves it's working.
Exactly. And the big differentiator here is that focus on the founder's voice and their deep domain expertise. It's depth over breadth. You're not trying to be everything to everyone. You're aiming for comprehensive coverage of a very specific topic, positioning the founder as the go-to expert in a potentially small but profitable niche.
We saw a great case study mentioned Chris Walker at Refine Labs. He apparently scaled to 50 people with 0 outbound sales.
Yeah, it's a classic example, 0 outbound. It was all inbound, driven purely by his thought leadership. He took his podcast, systematically chopped it up into clips, shared data-backed insights, dominated LinkedIn discussions in his niche. He won because he leveraged his specific expertise and built a system to turn it into business. That's the model for a founder with limited resources.
Okay, that makes sense, but it also sounds like, well, a lot of work. And the sources mentioned systematic execution across 6 dimensions is needed. Explains why maybe only 29% of B2B marketers feel their strategy is really working. Lack of clarity.
Clarity is everything. And it starts with dimension 1, expertise, inventory, and positioning. Honestly, if you only have a week to get started, nail this first. You need to clearly define maybe 3-4 core content pillars where the founder is genuinely in the top 1% of knowledgeable people.
I like that top 1% framing. It forces honesty.
Yeah.
I know founders who just want to say, we help B2B SaaS grow because they're scared of niching down.
Right, but B2B SaaS growth is just noise. Your positioning has to be defensible, something super specific, like helping technical founders transition from PLG to sales-led between $2 million and $5 million ARR. Now that's a space you can own.
Okay, specific and defensible. Got it. Dimension 2, content production systems. What does that look like day to day for a founder starting with basically no budget?
Keep it simple, keep it low friction, maybe weekly content interviews, just 30, 45 minutes, record the conversation, capture the insights, then use voice-to-text tools. There are great ones now that handle jargon pretty well. Feed the audio in, get a transcript back. That saves hours of staring at a blank page.
Right.
And immediately have a repurposing plan. Like one interview turns into 5 LinkedIn posts and maybe a section for a simple newsletter. And, lots of people use AI now, about 72% of B2B marketers. But the winners use it to enhance the human expertise, not just churn out generic stuff.
Okay, enhance, not replace. Dimension 3 gets a bit more technical.
Yeah.
SEO and Entity Authority optimization.
Yeah, it does. This is where you start thinking about things like schema markup, basically structured data that helps Google understand your content better, and building topical authority by really covering your niche deeply, optimizing for those kind of answer engine style queries people use now.
Dimension 4, distribution architecture. Okay, here's where I might push back a little. The recommendation was 5 to 7 posts a week on LinkedIn for 90 days straight, plus daily engagement. That sounds intense for a founder.
It is intense, no doubt, but it's often the necessary rhythm to cut through the noise and get that compound effect started. The idea is you pick the one primary channel where your ideal customer hangs out, and for B2B, 84% say LinkedIn delivers the best value. And you commit. That commitment includes the posting and spending maybe 20 minutes a day actually engaging with other people's content in your space. If you only have, say, 90 minutes a day total for marketing, this is probably where it needs to go initially.
Okay. Commitment is key. Then, Dimension 5. Measurement and attribution, proving it works.
Absolutely. You need to track both leading indicators, things like engagement rate, follower growth, and the lagging ones, the ones that really matter. Inbound demo requests, pipeline generated, deals closed, use UTM parameters on your links, make sure it feeds into your CRM. The sources noted that even just implementing basic measurement puts you ahead of something like 71% of competitors. It's low-hanging fruit for demonstrating value.
Right, showing the ROI. And finally, Dimension 6, scaling and systematization. So for the first 90 days, the founder is the system. How do they prep to hand this off later?
Document what's working. Create simple standard operating procedures, SOPs. How does that 30-minute interview work? What's the repurposing checklist? Keep it basic. Tie your content calendar to product milestones. Make sure it's all aligned. And crucially, don't hire content help until the founder's voice and the core system are really established. You hire someone to scale the proven system, not invent it from scratch.
That makes sense. Yeah, it clearly can work. You mentioned the Absol case study. Ria Mahesh saw like a 900% plus jump in impressions and engagement.
Yeah, 812% increase in engagement, I think it was. And it translated directly to measurable pipeline impact because they followed these kinds of systematic steps.
Okay, let's shift slightly back to the SEO side, the technical foundation. Google needs to see you as credible. Can you give us the quick version of how EEAT works?
Sure. EEAT. It stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. The big takeaway for founders is that trust is really the umbrella over everything. Google's trying to figure out if the advice or information you're providing is safe and reliable, won't harm the user or their business.
How does Google actually check for trust, though? It's not just reading the text, right?
No, it's looking at signals. Algorithmic signals combined with input from thousands, I think over 16,000 human quality raters. So practical things you need. Clear author information, who wrote this, what are their credentials, detailed author pages proving their background, using reputable sources or citations in your content. Transparency is key too, especially if you're using AI to assist. You need to show the human expertise.
Got it. Show your work, prove your credentials. And beyond EEAT, we can't forget backlinks. Still a big deal.
Huge. Still one of Google's top 3 ranking factors, easily. And quality trumps quantity, always.
So what makes a quality backlink?
Several things. Domain authority of the site linking to you, like a link from TechCrunch is worth way more than thousands from random directories. Topical relevance, a link from a site in your specific niche passes more relevant authority. Where the link is placed in the main body content is much better than a footer link. And diversity, getting links from lots of different relevant websites, is better than getting tons of links from just one site.
Okay, relevance, authority, placement, diversity. Makes
Right.
sense. You also mentioned something called entity authority. What is that for someone who's not an SEO expert? Is it just like making sure my LinkedIn profile is filled out?
That's part of signaling, but entity authority is bigger. It's about Google recognizing your brand and your founder as distinct, known entities in the real world, connected to specific topics of expertise, like entries in its knowledge graph. You build this mainly through structured data, that schema markup again, and by having consistent, verifiable information across the web, including potentially on platforms like Wikipedia or Wikidata if applicable. You're signaling you're a recognized, authoritative source on your topic. That helps you eventually compete, even with sites that might have more raw domain authority but less specific topical depth.
Right, becoming a recognized entity. Okay, bringing this all together for the founder listening right now who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed, what's the practical first step? The sources laid out a 90-day plan.
Yeah, that 90-day proof of concept is crucial. It gets the ball rolling and starts that compounding effect. Days 1 to 30. Just focus on establishing a baseline. Get those 5 LinkedIn posts out weekly. Spend 20 minutes a day engaging. Set up basic tracking impressions, engagement rate. Just get into the rhythm.
Okay, day 1 to 30, establish rhythm, then days 31 to 60.
Look at what resonated in that first month. Which themes got traction? Double down on those. Start repurposing that content, maybe turn some posts into a simple email update, and critically implement UTM tracking so you can start seeing if clicks are influencing pipeline down the line.
Start connecting the dots. And then days 61 to 90 is about scaling up.
Exactly. Maybe bring in some light fractional help, like an editor to clean up posts. Maybe add a secondary channel if you have bandwidth, like that newsletter or even a short-form podcast. Implement full CRM attribution to really track deals back to content, and calculate that initial ROI to prove the model works. You're aiming for strong B2B benchmarks here, maybe 20-30% month-over-month follower growth, and like a 3-5% engagement rate on your content.
And the end game here, the payoff, is building that competitive moat. The stats on this were kind of startling.
They really are. Things like 86% of decision makers will actually invite companies producing quality thought leadership into their formal buying processes, their RFPs.
And this is the money shot. 60% say they're willing to pay a premium to work with those companies.
Pay more just for the trust you've built. It's powerful.
So they're not just getting leads, they're getting better, higher value leads who already trust them.
That's the engine, converting that deep founder expertise into predictable, qualified pipeline.
And it works because it aligns with how buyers actually buy today, right? They do their own research, they find experts they trust. They're not waiting for cold outreach anymore.
Exactly. It just maps perfectly to modern B2B buying. That compound effect from doing this systematically, it's probably the closest thing you'll get to a truly sustainable competitive advantage today.
So I guess the real question for anyone listening isn't if they should build an authority engine.
It's whether you'll build yours before your competitor builds theirs and start stealing your potential customers. I saw a stat that 25% have ended supplier relationships after seeing competitor thought leadership.
Ouch. Okay, final thought then. A challenge for everyone listening. Start small, but start now. Maybe just one LinkedIn post this week. Document the specific framework, the steps you use to solve your ideal customer's biggest headache. Turn your expertise into infrastructure. Don't just keep it in your head.